It's working now. Okay. Always some issues, always issues. But we are here, and I wanted to share something with everybody before we get started on tonight's topic. We have a mom, Yvette Jones Swanson, who is a part of the Mom Squad, and she is working on a very helpful project. She's looking for volunteers April 30th. That's next Saturday. And I did a little interview with her, so I want to share it with everybody. So let's take a listen.
Hi there, this is Yvette Jones Swanson, and I am the founder and creator of 100 Pretty Purses for Female Veterans. Well, about 18 years ago, I was serving veterans, including female veterans, at the VA in housing. I am a realtor, and I house veterans from homeless to home ownership. And during one of the groups I was in, listening to female veterans talk, and I saw myself in them being in transition, actually being homeless, living with other people on their car or no. And I had never spoken or heard anybody else talk like this for me to get a feel that there are more women out there like me. So I knew where they were coming from, being homeless and not having the things that they needed away from home. So I started to think, what were some things that I needed when I was homeless, going from pillar to post in my car and really having nowhere to go. Well, back in the early 90s, there weren't wet wipes, so I needed a wash rag and some soap and perfume and deodorant and things of that nature. So when I would go to these meetings, I would make a point to take a purse or two and give it to one or two of the ladies who I felt could really use it. And I didn't know 100 Pretty Purses was sorry. It was just something that I felt the need to do. 8 years ago, I just gave it a name, 100 Pretty Purses for Female Veterans, because I wanted to honor no less and no more than 100 female veterans at an event. But that very first event in 2015, we had about 131, because I couldn't stop at 100, because they kept calling. And it just gave me more sense that there are more of us out there like me. So every year since then, the number has grown, and hence we're here. Formed a not-for-profit for 100 Pretty Purses for Female Veterans 2 years ago in 2020, and it's phenomenal. Women from all over the country are speaking about it and coming to events because they're now seeing themselves as somebody and being honored and being seen. We're here. Female veterans, women veterans have gone through so much. So with this event, 2022 Women Veterans Conference and Resource Fair is for every female veteran out there, because I don't want to say every female veteran who will attend this event has gone through trauma, but 9 times out of 10, they've gone through trauma. And that trauma could have been military sexual trauma. It could have been homelessness. It could have been domestic violence. It could be anything and everything under the sun. Coming out or being in the military, we have had so many challenges that have not been addressed by the VA. And now women veterans are having their voices heard at events like this and on other stages. So this event is for every female veteran who has gone through some type of trauma, and they're coming to get the resources that a lot of us never heard of, including myself. I'm still new to learning about benefits that a female veteran has.
That's nice.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I have another. I mean, a little bit more to the interview, so I have to get a little bit more up. So she talks a little bit more about her personal experience with MST, which is something I didn't know. I'm like, about these things, but you don't necessarily think about it if it's not something that you're experiencing. And even being a military brat, I grew up in the military. I wasn't as familiar with all of the challenges that she talked about female veterans go through. And so when I started looking into it, like 1 in 4 women will experience military sexual trauma, which is the range of, from harassment to rape. And they have a whole different way that they handle, like, and we know about this, the way crimes are reported and dealt with or not dealt with in the military is a whole different type of situation. So what she's doing is just kind of helping women veterans deal with or find the resources that are available, because she's like, we didn't know, she didn't know, and she's learning all of this stuff, and so now she's helping other veterans. And so we have opportunity as the Chicagoland Mom Squad to help with this wonderful event. And also it's an opportunity for your children to volunteer and receive volunteer credit, so you don't have to look for a babysitter, just bring them with and let them be involved in something wonderful. So I will post again the link to the sign up in the chat if you want to sign up for and get more information about how you can volunteer with your vet. And and it's next Saturday. So from
this Saturday.
I'm sorry, that's
Saturday.
Right. Yeah. Saturday. It's April 30th. Yes.
Saturday.
This Saturday, anytime between 6 a.m. and 5 p.m., you have an hour to give. She's out in the event is in
Richton Park.
Thank you. Richton Park, and in the south suburbs. So I hope you guys can support, and thank you for the moms that have already signed up to support. We already have some moms going out to help her this Saturday, April 30th. So yeah.
I love it. Thank you, Toni. You guys, welcome to Monday Night Mom Chat. We are so excited. Toni said this is our 13th episode, so that's really exciting. Wow. I think, or maybe this is 14. I don't know.
This is actually 14, so we've done 13. So this is number 14.
Okay.
All right. Well, this is number 14. So first of all, thank you all for tuning in. Next week is our break week, and then we're going to do it again, and then we're going to take a break for the summer, I do believe. But first and foremost, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you. We've got some great guests tonight. We're going to talk about money, kind of finishing up Financial Literacy Month and all that good stuff. But I have some housekeeping announcements, as always. First and foremost, I want to congratulate Antoinette Peterson on winning. I was waiting with bated breath about whether or not she won local school council. So I read on LinkedIn today that she won. So congratulations, representative for Diet High School. You guys know Diet is near and dear to my heart just because of Beulah and all that good stuff. So I'm very excited about Antoinette. And then Antoinette is a Mom Squad day one. So she's been in the Mom Squad probably since before I even started it. So we're super excited about her. And if anybody else is in local school council and needs our support, just kind of hit us up, let me know, just so we can kind of be aware of what we have. It's a real elected official position. So congratulations to everybody who won. And I think the big thing there and what I'm most excited about is, and you guys will start noticing and seeing my responses to comments, I want to challenge us a little bit more to get past the banter. I want to challenge us a little bit more to do more. Kind of the other reason why we're making we're picking organizations that we will be supporting monthly. And even with 100 Pretty Purses, she's been doing work a long time. Somebody in the Mom Squad brought her up to me, I believe Tamika. So she's been doing the work, but I think it's important for us to really just kind of start going beyond just I'll be there and then be there. We should do this. Let's do it. So be challenging people a little bit on just kind of what we can do, and self-included too, right? The other thing is not next Thursday, this Thursday. Dr. Skanes is not with us today, but she will be on Thursday. First of all, wait a minute. As I'm saying this sentence, this is a little shady. So she's not here today. But she's going to be on Thursday.
But she's not here for a good reason.
Over at the University of Chicago. You know what? I got some questions.
Now, wait a minute.
I don't even like this sentence. Let me finish. Let me read it because I'm supporting and strengthening relationships. But hold on. Anyway, this Thursday, Facebook, 6:00, I do believe. Social media, mental health, and the next generation. I am really excited about that conversation. And shout out to the University of Chicago. We've got we've got some really bossy women in the Mom Squad, which I love. And a lot of you guys are just understated, which I love. But you guys are doing a lot of the work. So those of you that know, try to just support all that we can. So with that being said, we have a Mom Squad mom in the group, Stephanie. As a guest tonight. So Stephanie, introduce yourself to us and tell us how long you've the shade. Yes, the shade. Stephanie, tell us how long you've been in the Mom Squad and all that good stuff.
You know what? I don't know how long I've been in Mom Squad.
I'll look it up while you're on the phone. Oh, while you're here, I'll look it up. It'll be fine.
Look it up. But I found Mom Squad. I think someone may have mentioned it to me, and I have just loved being a part of the group, and I'm super excited to be here tonight. So, hey, everybody, I was just looking on my phone because I was peeking in the Facebook Live just to make sure. But I am Stephanie Lyons, and I am a financial services professional, born and raised on the South Side of Chicago, HBCU grad, and I have always just been passionate from childhood. You know, they tell us we have a money story, so I can get into that, but I've always really loved numbers and wanted to understand personal finance. So during the pandemic, I actually realized that women were really having a hard time, right? We were having to juggle our jobs and our households. A lot of women had to either resign from their jobs. And so there were so many financial barriers that I just started sharing financial tips on Facebook and helping people with their budgets. And I'd been doing some of that for years, and I officially started my financial coaching business during that time. So I'm super excited that I get to do that and happy to be here this evening with everyone. So I'm going to turn it over to our other guest, Elle. Over to you.
Oh, thank you. I'm Al. Toni invited me, and I was so excited. I've been catching up on the episodes and what you guys been doing, and I've been talking about family and finance. I was just, like, looking at the calendar, like 12 years and 13 in September. And originally I started out with couple money, and that's because when my husband and I got engaged, we had the pleasant surprise of finding out that we love each other, but we were absolutely not on the same page when it came to finances. Like every you disagree financial opposite situation seemed to apply with us. And so I was documenting it because at that time there were some personal finance bloggers, but nothing that was talking about how the two of you have communication, that you both respect each other, that you're building that relationship along with, getting out of debt and building wealth. It's been a journey, and many couples have joined us. And then we became parents, and that is its own adventures. We have two daughters, 7 and 10, and we got into looking at financial freedom and independence. And while I was intrigued by this idea of like flexibility and freedom, I was put off because a lot of conversations were, get there as fast as you can and not enjoying the journey. For example, there were jokes in certain forums about, well, if you want to be, rich, you just don't have kids. And, I feel like part of having a rich life is the people and the projects that matter to you. And so I started Simplify and Enjoy, which is, more holistic finances, working together to find a path to financial freedom at a pace that makes sense for you and your family and your situation.
Awesome. I've never heard that joke before. That's pretty horrible.
That's terrible.
And I want to also share, this is something I give to couples because this is Elle's book.
Thank you,
Jumpstart
Toni.
Your Marriage and Your Money. And this is a great gift, especially for new couples and anybody that I know that's getting married or going, thinking about,
about to boo up.
Merging merging finances. That is something we want to think about because we know that 80% of couples who are divorcing cite money fights and money problems as a source of the dissolution of their marriage. So money is a big issue that we got to get under control. So married, single mom, whatever, young kids, teen, this is what we're going to be talking about today because regardless of what your relationship status is, your financial acumen, let's just say it like that, is something that we really got to get under control. And it's not always the sexiest thing to talk about, right? it can be something that kind of creates a sense of anxiety within us, but it's something we really need to get under control. So I'm so glad to have our money friends here. We had a conversation a couple weeks ago about what millionaires teach their kids, but we got to get there. Okay, so with that being said, because I know it's in all of us, to get our money, to fix our finances, get our money under control. I'll start with you, Steph. What are some of the and when as you're working with women and people in general, what are some of the like number one issues people are kind of coming to you with in terms of problems that they're having with money?
Oh, such a great question. And I work primarily with women, and a lot of it is emotional. It's mindset.
Mhm.
It is fear. A lot of kind of embarrassment and guilt. Many times it's I feel like I make good money and I should have more to show for it.
Yeah.
So I do have to spend some time. And I started financial coaching just helping friends and family. And as I really started to kind of dig deeper with the mindset work, I'm a Christian. So I was just like, Lord, what can I do to help women to let them know it's okay? Like you can, so Masterpiece is based off of the scripture, Ephesians 2:10, which essentially says, for you are God's masterpiece, you're created to do good works. And I just kind of remind women when I first start talking that it's okay. Like you are a work of art. None of us are perfect. And then I started to talk about what's the vision for your life? Like, what is your good work that you feel that you were put here to do? What's your why? Because when you really kind of start to think about that, it can help you to drive those decisions.
Right.
But many of the times, those initial conversations are just about whatever happened in the past is perfectly fine. You didn't know what you didn't know, right? Like if you weren't raised in a household that taught financial literacy, many of us learned from our peers, or we learned from, here's
our heads on something.
We fall and we get up. So
right.
in the earlier stages, it's just about kind of unpacking that and then kind of sorting through, all right, what's your why? Because where do you need to go? What are you trying to accomplish? And then we go from there. But that's the initial conversation.
How long does it take to peel back those layers? Sorry, Elle. Seriously, because I mean, like, I think we got to sit in that for a minute, because a lot of it, and I think the other part is, even before we come to you, it's like, I think these are good tips for, let me wrap my head around. I talked about this the last time when I was it's the part where, first of all, I want to tell nobody my business, right? I want you to see my new shoes, though, right? I want you to see my nails and my hair are done.
My hair, right?
But I think it's a moment where sometimes you got to sit with yourself before you even get to a Stephanie, and then be prepared mentally for Stephanie, so I don't hate Stephanie when Stephanie hurts my feelings about these shoes I just bought, because I did buy some shoes. Okay, go ahead.
I like that Stephanie said, I like that she's coming from that Christian perspective about that, that we are God's masterpiece, because one of the things, especially if you're coming from that perspective, that there's no condemnation to anybody who is
no judgment
with Jesus, right? And so, and I think what happens is when we are brave enough to open up about that, we find out that we are not the only one having these struggles, right? True. We are not the only one that's been there. We are not the only one and the thing about it is we want to look at the highlight tape or the public persona of what everybody else presents, and we don't know what's behind all of those layers. And so we're comparing ourselves, we're comparing our situation to everybody's highlight tape, and not realizing that there are so many people who are in the exact same situation that we are. And I think the thing is that we look at like our financial status as kind of like our adult report card, right? It's like, if we're not doing well there, we're a failure. And is that the case? Elle, what do you say to people who kind of come with that mindset?
It is a struggle, because I feel like part of it is we judge ourselves because we feel like there's so much I should be doing. And there's a lot of shoulds. Like, I'm however old you are, I'm in this situation, I should be doing this. And if there's like one lesson learned these last 2 years is get out of the habit of measuring yourself by the numbers.
Right.
Get out of I know in the personal finance space, you see a lot of net worth reviews. And I think at some points they can be helpful as you're digging out of debt and you're tracking that. But I think that also can kind of hurt us, because then we feel like if we had a bad month or if we had something come up and we have a setback, that mentally, like, we didn't succeed.
Mhm.
And guess what? Especially during times like this, maybe just treading the water was a win for that month. Maybe, you had to take time back, time off of work. Maybe you had to pivot something, and just realizing that money is not the goal, as we're,
Mhm.
and I know we're going to get into this a little bit more. It is a helpful tool. It's a tool that should help us have more flexibility and freedom to live the best life we can, provide for our families, however that looks. And, just thinking about Yvette, she's decided, to devote herself to help female veterans. That takes time. And yes, that takes money to support those who deserve that support, deserve that respect. And if we want to be more like Yvette, to kind of align the way we live with, what's important to us, 99 out of 100 times, we got to get our finances in a good spot so we can say yes to this. Or, in this situation with the pandemic, sometimes we have to say no.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I feel grateful. Tony and I, we've been in this, we've been supporting each other with financial, independence, learning about finances. I feel grateful to be in a position that when I needed to cut back on work during this pandemic, I could do that.
Mhm.
But I'm very well aware that there were families that were caught with this pandemic that were not in that position financially, and they had to do what they had to do. And that's not a judgment. That's saying, I want more families to have that opportunity to make a choice
Right.
based on what's right for their family, and not necessarily I got to go to work even though I don't feel safe because I got bills to pay.
Right.
So, it's about layers. We talked about layers, but it's
Mhm.
also with your finances, you have so many different steps. Just start with the basic layers, which is getting that stability, getting that foundation.
Gotcha. Great word. Great word. So, Tenille, you brought up something the last time we talked about the money conversation, which I think is so important. It's just like there's so much to do, and there's so many like things to focus on. Like, where does this sister start, right? And so I'm wondering, and Stephanie, maybe you can help us with this. If you are sitting down with a lady for the first time who's stressed and she's actually gotten over that hump of like, okay, I know I need to open up to somebody. I don't want people in my business, but I need help, right? And so she's gotten over that, and that's a major step. I will say that would be a major win to get to that point, to say, recognize like I need help, and now let me reach out to somebody that can help me. So let's say you're in front, face to face with her. Where do you start her? Where would you start this, our, let's call her, I don't know, Siobhan.
You can call her Tenille. It's fine. I'm here. I'm here for you. Right? Am I coming with my bank statements? Like, what am I doing? Because I've also, one of the things I also ask, even before, okay, so mentally we're good, but how do I know I'm not wasting Stephanie's time? Like, if I only have $100, shouldn't I be able to manage that $100? Because everything's going out. When are we wasting your time? And I know that you are with the Lord, so no, you're not wasting time. But the business side of me is like, wait, hold on. Before I even, is it, I got $1,000 a month? Like, when do we come to you? I think that's the other part. Mentally, okay, cool. Take the shoes back.
Yeah.
Got it. Stephanie, I got $1. Are you laughing at me? Look at it. I know you're not laughing because Jesus, but like, what are you doing?
And I won't laugh at you. God's still working on me. No, I'm joking, y'all. And it's still a business. So you're right. God still wants us to be profitable. But many of the women that I start working with initially, they come to me with the pain because they don't know where their money's going. Again, they're busy. They're managing a household. They might be single. They might be married. They have kids. And so the money's coming in from salary or whatever, and it is going out. And so a lot of times the overwhelm is because of disorganization, not knowing where the money is, not knowing the expenses, Hulu and Netflix and everybody's debiting the account every time.
We lying to you, Stephanie. We know where Uber Eats is. That's what I'm saying. But I hear you. It's
Listen,
let's look.
so
You
yes,
doing the I don't
the
want to look. I
kids
don't want to
need
look.
something,
Yeah.
so we spend like at least the first 2 sessions, but definitely the first one going through the numbers. And it is not the most fun exercise, but it is necessary because often I'll say, do you have a budget? And I'll ask for numbers and I'll get all round figures, right? Yes, I spend $200 in groceries and $300 in this. And I'm like, is that it for the month? Are you sure? Can you just download your bank statement, put it over in Excel, and let's just go through it? And you're right, it is overwhelming, but it's a necessary step. And it is one of those things where I always equate it to when you start anything new, it is overwhelming. If you go into a room and you know you have to organize that closet and it is just crowded, but you feel so much better and you feel so accomplished when it's done. But it is that step. We spend time going through, and many of my clients, when we go through that initial step, they find money. It's like you actually are in a better position than you thought you were. You may have to cut some things off, right? Like I had a friend who was still paying on a gym membership during the pandemic and she wasn't going. And I'm like, just call them and cut it off, like cancel it. And sometimes we just get busy and we don't check those things because we've automated so much. And so a lot of times I start with, let's look at everything that's coming in and everything that's going out and do that check and balance. And I know it's overwhelming. That's not the fun part, but that's the numbers part that we definitely have to unpack.
And that's powerful. I mean, we think, oh, it can't really be that helpful. But for many families I've, spoke with, even for us, like we started in debt, our marriage, the awareness that you get is enlightening. And it also, oddly enough, empowers you because you're like, okay, this is where my money's going. And then you can have those discussions as a family or, yourself. Is this how I want my money spent? Like, let's say I noticed someone had like Uber Eats and, Amazon subscriptions. But if you're getting a joy and value out of it, you might not necessarily cut that one out. But then there might be another expense that you're like, I could do this at home and it would be better and it would be easier. And then it's less about just like judging yourself about the numbers, but reminding yourself, am I getting value out of this? And then moving that money in the right way, cutting back on those things that aren't helpful or holding you back, and then redirecting that money, whether it's paying down debt, saving up for a specific goal, or maybe you're in that step of investing.
And I think that's also because, I'm sitting here, I'm really reflecting on myself. So again, I can be the self, but it is I think a lot of times it is that it's that you need the Stephanie in your life to help you uncover what you already know. Cause I still say it's a lie. We know where that money's going. We just don't feel like looking at it because the total's gonna smack us in the face when we know dang on well, our baby got to go to prom.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Right.
But to Elle's point, it is, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, and Antoinette said when she started couponing is when she learned where her money was going. And that was really how she learned to get her money right. And I think sometimes it also takes, you are one approach. Stephanie's an approach, but I think sometimes it could be this conversation. It could be listening to Elle's podcast. And then it's making that decision to say, I know that I'm just going to work on X to do whatever.
So ladies, I want to know what. Okay, so we have Tenille. We're going to use Tenille tonight. She's our sample case study. And I think this is great, but seriously, because again, we have to first we have to address the mindset, and that's very real. I mean, let's not. We're laughing and kind of making light because we want to keep this. We want to encourage people to not like be overwhelmed and turn away, but it's a very real concern, right? It's a very real concern. Like, I don't want to seem like in public, you had the mom, don't tell my business, don't tell nobody what's going on in this household. We grew up with that, right? What happens in this household stays in this household. Nobody needs to be in our business. So we grow up with that mentality, and it extends into like keeping this facade of I have everything together. I have everything together. I look the part, I speak the part. I'm doing well in my job. A lot of us are very productive on our jobs, right? Very productive on our jobs. And so, like, when things are falling apart at home, it's challenging. So Tenille has taken that step. She's reached out to a Stephanie, and she's listening to Elle's podcast and getting some motivation that way, right? So Stephanie, even though she may not be as open initially with the details of where the spending is going, what are some questions you might ask Tenille to kind of help her like clue in on some of those and plug some of those holes? What are some questions you might ask her to get her thinking about and maybe being more realistic about where she is with her situation?
Oh, that's a good one. So, I want to go back to one thing. I try to make it fun also. So I spend time, because you're right. Often, especially as financial services professionals, people may think that, they've always been great with money. And so I make sure that I say, I graduated college with credit card debt, right? I was that student who was applying for the credit card because they were on campus giving out the T-shirt or the free pizza or whatever.
Right.
Sign me up. Right. And then, so I talked about that. And I was a victim of identity theft. Like someone bought a house because in my name, it is a whole story for a whole different day.
You said that what?
A
house.
Oh,
whole house. Like had my social, everyone involved in the real estate transaction were fraudulent. So it became like a big case. Like I did it was also transparent, making sure that we protect our identity and that we are not as careless, right, with our finances. So we talk about that. And then I kind of mentioned some of the things that Elle said. I talk about what do you value? For someone who loves to cook, I would never tell them to cut back on their grocery spending if that's something that they value and it's in their, but maybe we'll look at other areas, right? And so I just kind of talking through. So what are some of the things that you enjoy? What are your goals? Because maybe it's saving for a home or maybe it's paying off debt. So everyone kind of has a different need. And so based on that, there are different levers to pull. Sometimes it's really getting organized. It's sorting through. It may be closing accounts. I know a lot of us, we love to shop and we love our online shopping. So maybe it's setting up systems to kind of help us. And I equate that to, I hate to use the term dieting, but, I love nacho cheese Doritos. They're my favorite. If I buy that family bag, I will eat that. I will just kind of keep going down to my pantry and I'll nibble on them. And before you know it, the bag will be gone. So the way I control that, because I love them, but I know my hips don't love them, is I don't buy them. Like I'll buy a few small, but I'll only buy the big bag when I know like someone's coming over, someone else can help me eat it. So I do talk to my clients about, what are your impulses? Because some of us have an impulse shopping. How can we put some controls in place so that you don't have that buyer's remorse when you go on that shopping spree in the middle of the night? So sometimes it's systems. And we'll talk about automation and maybe separating accounts and doing some things like that to put things in place to simplify. I love the name of your podcast now, to simplify, but still be able to enjoy the things that you do. So
I like. Let's pretend Tenille has a husband. Neil had a husband once.
But I do like what Stephanie's pointing out is systems. I know there's a lot of talk, and I know it's a big business talking about willpower and, being self-disciplined. But the reality is for many women is that we have many hats that we put on during the day. We have a lot going on, whether it's inside or outside the home. And, we're taking care of kids. We're taking care of parents. We're, taking care of work projects. There's all these different things. One of the best things you can do after you've defined those major goals that you're going to pursue is what systems can I put in place? I know for us personally, probably just like with everyone, these past 2 years has been challenging. We had 2 kids in remote learning, which is a whole new experience. Our youngest started her whole school experience remote learning. That's all she
Mhm.
knows right now.
Mhm.
And then we have, how do you work? Both of us working from home. How do you manage time? I don't want to say who's more important, but like one of us has to have a quiet space for the meeting. Now we have to coordinate and juggle. It is very easy to get caught up in stuff. We've had family and nursing home work checking twice a week. Are you doing okay? Everything's fine. It's very easy to drop the ball on, yes, finances
Yeah.
are important because your mind is doing so many different things. So if you can automate, take care of the bill pay. Once you said, okay, here's the budget we're going to do, take care of that. Here's how much we're going to save for the house, car, whatever it is, put that on the schedule. It makes things so much easier. There have been times, and like I mentioned, I've been writing about finance for 12 years. These past 2 years, there have been months where I didn't do our monthly money date because I had more important things to do with family. My mom is vulnerable, making sure she's okay. She bought a house in the middle of pandemic, but I knew that the finances were fine because we set it up. And also the temptation, like Stephanie mentioned, the temptation is gone because your money's now put in those accounts for those goals. Because for me, I don't want to call it impulse. I think I'm a stress buyer. If
Mhm.
I'm, stressed out, then I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Let me just get prepared. Let me buy this. And let me buy this just in case. And so we all have our different triggers. And, working with someone like Stephanie is helpful because it identifies it. And then you make a system to protect yourself and your finances.
So let's say, like Tanelle said, she's married,
Yes, because I
and
want to
she
get to the how do you have a conversation? Yeah, how do you have a conversation? Wait, no, hold on, wait. I don't let's not have it out here in the internet streets. I ain't looking for a husband.
this
But
is
in this scenario,
But if he
yeah,
finds you, then
No, but that is an
scenario,
important
this
conversation.
scenario.
Like, how do you have those initial conversations
right.
where you're not like, how much money you got? Am I taking on someone with a lot of debt or what? There's things in the back of your mind like I worked really hard and here's someone who can't manage their money.
Yeah.
My suggestion, I kind of cover this in the book, is what you're really asking isn't necessarily the numbers. Thank you, Tony. But it's what are your goals? What are you hoping to do? Like I would always introduce that. If you're meeting someone, you don't have to ask their credit score, but you could ask, well, what are you planning to do in the next 5 years? And then, well, Tenille, then you ask them, well, what are you doing to get there?
Mhm.
They saying they're
Yeah.
going to buy a house, they're going to buy a car, they're going to do all these trips, they're going to do all this. That's great. But what's your plan? Like,
Yeah.
tell me, what pieces do you have in place? And it's usually
Oh, that's
easier for
scary.
people
Wait,
to
when are we
open up.
asking this question? During the dating?
Yeah, ask what goals they have. You start
No,
with
they
the
ain't never getting a
goals.
man. That ain't no,
You start
they
with the
not answering
goals.
them questions. How long you been married?
I've been married 15 years.
They don't make them like that no more. That's not what
and
they do.
Well,
I
that's but you start
wish.
with the goals. You don't start with like how much debt you have, but you start like, what are your goals?
Come
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Because everybody talks a good game,
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
right?
Yeah,
But
Right.
then,
that's a
then as
great
you get to
way.
know them, yeah, it's just segue into, look, what are you doing? You can even start with yourself. I'm hoping to buy a house. I've been saving up. I'm doing this, and
Mhm.
put yourself out there in the relationship. And as awkward as it is, it becomes more natural having those conversations. It helps you. It makes it less taboo to talk about it.
Mhm.
And it also filters out people that you might not be compatible with, because finances is a part of that.
Yeah.
Finances, if you guys aren't financially compatible, it's going to be a stress on your relationship. And it's better either to work it out or to, break it up.
Go
You guys
your
need to come up with a game.
exit
You guys need to come up
yeah.
with a game people can play while they're dating with
Oh,
money. For
That's
real.
not a bad idea.
It's a very good.
There's
God,
that
that's a
questions
good
game. There's
idea.
that questions game now. Maybe
Just
like
give
a
me a
questions
cup when
game
y'all do
finance.
it.
there's a couple games. I got to find it. Maybe I'll put in the link. I'll show it to Tony, because we went to a conference a couple years ago and Allied Bank had one of those. It's like a dating game, but
Mm.
cards where you have those
Whoa.
conversations.
Okay.
And then the New York Times years ago, it's called 36 Questions of Intimacy,
Uh-huh.
but it's in like 3 layers and it gets deeper and deeper.
Uh-huh.
But you can start
Mhm.
off with the first one, and it's just like really easy conversation starters. Like, what are you hoping to do? If you had like $1,000, where would you go on vacation?
That's a nice question.
That's a
Something
good
simple like
one.
that.
That's actually a
What would
nice
you like
question,
to
a nice
do?
fun thing. And then if
To keep it light.
Lake
But I
Yeah.
think what you
Geneva.
said is so important, right? And I think we have to think about that.
Mhm.
starting with goals and really kind of
Mhm.
getting comfortable with having those discussions. I know I wish I would have done that when we were dating, because my husband and I had a rocky start as it related to finances. But I think what you said, and if that's that, the book is something needed to help people to just get more comfortable having those conversations. And
Right.
something that I picked up on that you mentioned, Elle, which I think would be helpful also, is the money dates. Because having just a money date, even with yourself or with your significant other, helps. And it's kind of takes the burden off, right? Because initially, in most relationships, you have a saver and you have a spender. Sometimes you have, both, but often you have one that's really kind of better.
Better than the other one, I'm sure, is what she was going to say.
Yeah. There's a balance. There's a give and take.
Oh, there she is.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
There she is.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. My internet got spotty. Apologies.
No,
But
that's
there's
something that Elle mentioned, or she's done before, and and this might be something fun to do. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm been out of the game too long, but
You have. Go ahead.
I think I know what she's going to talk about, because she won it. That's she doesn't tell you. She won. Is that the $20 date night
the
challenge?
$20 day challenge. So that might be a fun thing to do. Is like I think it would be fun to do. It was challenging. I mean, it was a fun challenge for us too. But again, been out of the game a while, and we're on the other side of the hump. But that might be a fun way to kind of start the conversation around finances. Oh, I was reading this thing on this great site, Simplify Enjoy, and she challenged us to spend no more than $20 on a date. Let's see what we can come up with. And that might be something, again, you guys are working together. It gets the money conversation started. What's Simplify and Enjoy? So that might be, again, ways to kind of, push that conversation without being pushy or kind of overstepping boundaries too early in a relationship, which could be, I'm sure, off-putting, since, like you said, the guys say they don't make them like that anymore.
Yeah, I will note with inflation, you might want to do $20 each. I mean, hey, you guys are in Chicago. You have some great options here. Raleigh's gotten a lot better. We have a lot of local spots. You got to find the hole in the wall spots and get some great dinners.
Right.
I think it is. It's finding what's fun that you can do together that doesn't cost a lot of money. Enjoy and just talk about things that you want to do more of. You might say, you know what's important for us is I want to always make sure we have time to go on these dates, and whether you're married or dating, have that fun or travel. That's important to us. We need, my husband even told us, he's like, I love going on family trips, but we need to have trips just us. He told me a few years ago, I'm like, but they're my babies. And he's like, they have grandparents. We need time together and putting that on the budget. So yes, you definitely have to take care of those foundational pieces, but also part of how you spend money, it's spending, it's sharing, it's saving, but it's enjoying as well. So find those ways that you enjoy spending money together, if you're in a relationship or with your friends, and meaningfully spend there, and then cut back on the things that don't matter to you.
Yeah.
So I know we're going a little bit long. If you guys can, usually I'm the one wrapping it up, but now I'm pushing it longer, right? I'm
This is good.
But I want to switch topics a little bit, because we've been talking about good stuff, personally, relationships, children. Okay, so tell me what you guys are doing with your kids in terms of introducing these concepts to them, and what ages do you think it's important to get started? If to get started. Or so we'll start there. Stephanie, why don't you talk about what age is important to get started? What are you doing with your kids? Because you have what age children?
So I have 2 girls, 14 and 8.
Ooh.
And so we've got a big gap. And so but I think you start young. So we started with just a small piggy bank that has dividers: spend, save, give, invest.
Okay.
And I started with I got it at a fair years ago from a bank. And I was like, this is perfect. My daughter was probably 1 at the time. So she didn't really understand, well, what does invest mean? But whenever she got money, especially coins, I'd let her decide, all right, where are you putting this? You need to make sure you give, you save, you spend, you invest. So now that she's 14, we talk, she has a bank account. We have a custodial, we have a Roth IRA for her now, a youth one, because
Mhm.
she works like with my sister,
Okay.
who's an entrepreneur. And my sister gives her an opportunity to really kind of get some work. She's a caterer. So this year we started that account. We've
Okay.
allowed her to buy some stock. And so I just kind of talked to her a little bit more. She had I let her have control of her debit card
Mhm.
this year. And so we're still learning that, because what I'm realizing is for teenagers and youth, I told her I think we're going to go back to cash, because
Mm.
I don't think that they're understanding the
Oh.
concept of the card.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
appears to have she hasn't made the connection between the account does have a balance. It's not
Mm.
it's not never ending, because we
Right.
were in the mall once and she was just swiping away, and I said, "Wait, did you check your app? Do you have enough in that account?" So
Mhm.
there
Mhm.
are still some things we're working on. I'm
Mhm.
realizing with the digital age, I may go back to cash
Mhm.
just so that they understand the concept. For my
Yeah.
younger one, we're still doing the spend, save, give, donate, which is perfect for
Nice.
her. She's 8. Um, and teaching her, she just had a birthday. So she is telling everyone how much money she has right now and how much she's putting in her different spots. So
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh.
So Elle, what do you so give us your children's ages, and then
So we have
also
2 girls too.
right, two girls.
oh,
Mhm.
girl
What
power.
Yeah.
what if you didn't start early? That's my question. So what if you didn't start
You
early
can
with your children? What are some suggestions you have for parents with older children who want to start incorporating financial literacy into their daily life?
Well, a real good resource for parents, first of all, is a book called The Opposite is Spoiled, where
Mm.
it's not just I think we want our kids to be financially savvy, but at the same
Mhm.
time, we want them to be thoughtful and generous with how they
Mhm.
spend their money, and
Mhm.
it's that balancing act. But one of the key lessons that we got from it and we've applied with our girls is meet them where they're at. So,
Okay.
as soon as our girls were asking for stuff,
Mhm.
in this case, kids, I want toys, I want snacks. That was our initial conversations, believe it or not, about budget. So it wasn't necessarily the numbers like, here's a budget and this is what mommy and daddy do. It was like,
Mhm.
oh, you want this? Did you know this costs this much? And then we set up an allowance. And I know that's like a huge conversation for everybody's like, well, how
Mhm.
much is, the right amount? Uh, from what I've read and talked with others in general, and again, it depends on your family situation. It's 50 cents to a dollar per their age. So if there were 4, that could be $2 or $4 a week. You can just, you decide what's best for your family. But what's important that I've been looking at, like, the research and I grew up with, like, you had to work to get your allowance,
Mhm.
but it seems that what's helpful is giving them some money that is practice for how to manage the money, and
Okay.
of course, like, for our girls, they have a base. They get that allowance because we want them to practice and feel comfortable with money, but then, yeah, there's extra chores,
Mhm.
uh, but,
Yeah.
they're part of the family. There's some chores I'm like, "I don't care. You're gonna take care of your room, and you got your house chores. You're a part of a family, we all
Yeah.
pitch in."
Right.
But then, stuff with the yard and others, they can get some bonus money.
Don't
But
say
then
that out loud. I mean, yard work around here is for free, for the free.
but you just again, it's tying to, like, what they're interested in, so that
Good.
Yeah.
spend and that
Yeah.
save, what do they want? Yeah,
Yeah.
also, I wanna say another resource real quick too is, Goal Setter. Tony, you remember Tanya created this?
Yes.
It was on,
Uh-huh.
oh man, what was that
Yeah.
entrepreneurship show? But
Shark Tank. She was
yeah,
on
and but
Shark Tank.
she kept
Mhm.
it because she wanted a better deal and she did a better job.
Mhm.
Um, it is designed for families, but you know how sometimes, like you mentioned, birthdays, holidays, or gifts, people wanna send like $5, $10 here? You
Mhm.
can create a savings account around a goal. So
Yes.
say if your kid is into STEM and there's a STEM camp that you wanna send them to. Well, grandma can pitch in, so, your friends and family, instead of, "Oh, I'm gonna,"
Right. Yes. And
movie tickets, they can pitch in $10, $20, and that's really helpful because it takes some pressure off of you financially as a parent, but then
mhm.
also, my sister, my brother-in-law, we have aunts, uncles, whether they're by blood or, friends, family, that want to help and be part of that village to help raise our kids. This is an opportunity for them to do that. But we work hard with our kids. Like, what goals do they have? Again, money's just a tool. I don't want them to feel like, oh, if I'm a saver, I'm a spender. I want, like, I'm a doer. I
Yeah.
want to, I want to do this. Why is it important? We have rules, and again, ours are 10 and 7. So, as they get
Yeah.
older, you give them more freedom. It For every dollar they have, half of it goes into like a spend account for their fund money. 25% of it has to go towards, savings, and they have to tell us what they're saving for. And then the last one is giving. But for the giving, that is completely them, you
Yeah.
know. I thought my oldest was going to give to animals, the local animal shelter, because she loves animals. But you know what? She got art supplies and she started writing letters to different people in the neighborhood or people that
Oh.
we encountered. She bought flowers and gifts for people,
Okay.
like really individualized. And so it empowers them to spend their money the way they want to,
Mm.
and then reflect on, like, I felt good doing this. This
Okay.
was something that made me feel good. So money, again, is not a burden. And then the last piece I would say as a parent, okay, maybe it's a mom thing, but we have to let them make the mistakes. We want to rescue them, and they
Yes.
blew their money on this, and you're like, I told you not to spend it on it.
Mhm.
My daughter loves this YouTube channel, and she saw this gift box. I'm like, this is all kinds of overpriced. It was like a 5-cent pencil and all this, and it was like $35, but it was her money. And then she even realized later, like, I could have got so much more.
Mhm.
I'd rather her have a mistake for $35 than to
Yeah.
sign a student loan,
Right.
and have a $35,000 debt that she has to deal with. And
Yeah.
so if we kind of look at that perspective as parents, is let them make the mistakes now. Don't always bail them out. Of course, we don't want anything catastrophic, but be there, but let them live with the consequences. Because I'd rather have them do it small at home where they have support before they sign a car loan and,
Yeah.
Right.
for all
Ooh,
kinds of debt.
Right.
that was
That
a word right there.
that was a
Mhm.
word
Like
right
that.
there.
Right.
And
It
Exactly.
was.
yeah,
Exactly.
and I agree. Very similar to my
Yep.
daughter, right? After she swipe, I said, well, did you check? Did you have
Yeah.
enough? And
Uh-huh.
now that's a lesson, right?
Right.
She will check now because she
Right.
had
Yeah.
oh my God, I got an alert that my account is here. So
Yeah. And I think it's about being intentional about making sure we are,
Mhm.
even if we didn't get it growing up, even if
Yeah.
we struggle with
Yeah.
this area, being intentional. And if we have to learn, we can
Mhm.
learn and also teach as we're learning. Because that
And parenting wise, I'm also a fan of, if it's not my strong suit, I'm great at telling Reagan, we're gonna learn this together, whatever it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think
Right.
that's another
Absolutely.
part where, hey, I think that's that part where you can hold me accountable for this. It's
Right.
still
Mhm.
obviously that parent-child dynamic, but I think making them, especially if you're getting a late start, I think
Right.
there's something
Right.
in
Yeah.
the allowing your children to see the part where you did struggle, or
Mhm.
you were at this point and now you were a part of this part to getting here, so that they can visualize the things that you've been visualizing, so that they get it in like how life works. And I think Elle hit it on the head. um don't always bail them out. I mean, that's part of the reason. That's what's wrong with part of the dating pool. The mamas, I blame the mamas every episode, but the mamas have bailed these children out so much that when something rough comes, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, this is not the topic, but
No,
y'all know what
actually,
I'm saying.
we're gonna have that conversation. Actually, our next show is going to be
Lord
about raising the next generation
Jesus.
spouses. So we actually gonna have that
Make
conversation.
them grown folks pay for it.
So this has been great. I know
I'll
we
be
went a
sure
little
to
bit
listen in on
over.
that one.
I know
Yeah.
we went a little bit over today, but I do thank you. I want to thank our guests
Thank you, guys.
for sharing with us, for coming, for spending their time. Elle's on the East Coast, so it's a little bit later even for her. So we really, really thank you for staying up
Yes, thank
with
you.
us.
Of
And
course.
their contact information, if you want to reach out to Stephanie from Masterpiece Financial Coaching, or Elle with Couple Money, or Simplify and Joy, that's in the chat. I did tag them, so you guys have that information. Is there anything, as we just wrap up, just one thing that you think people, if they're kind of overwhelmed, where do they need to focus on first, Stephanie? What would you say?
I would say Figure out your why.
Okay.
Mhm.
What are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals? Sit
Okay.
down with your family. And no matter the ages, right? Even if your kids are 16, start talking now about prom and, college. Just start thinking about your why, because that we won't always be motivated. We won't always be disciplined, but knowing what that is, creating a vision board around what you want to accomplish will help
Yeah.
you to stay focused. So I would say sit down and think about your goals. What is
Yeah.
it that you want to accomplish, and begin to really focus in on that.
Gotcha. Sorry, I didn't mean to put that up.
No,
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Oh,
I saw
I
that.
appreciate that too. I agree with
Now,
Stephanie.
what do you, yeah, what do you,
I really does, what matters to you, your why, your purpose. Uh, the only other thing I would add is you're taking the first steps now. You listen to this chat, you are participating. Uh, that is a huge step, and give yourself credit for that.
Mhm.
And there are so many free resources. I know, and I'm grateful Tony, held up the book. You can always buy it, but your local library has resources. We have online, you can reach out, ask questions, start there, define your plan, and get that confidence. And then when the opportunity is right for you, please work with someone like Stephanie, Tony. We all want to help, and we'll meet you where you are. But the most important thing is right now you're taking that step, which is that you're caring about your finances, and you want to improve it.
Very good point.
Well,
Tenille.
yes, I just want to close out saying that Stephanie has been in the Mom Squad for 8 years.
Oh, God.
You were added by Kalia Whitmore. Do you know who that is?
Yes, awesome.
One of all the metrics I have.
Am I considered like a what am I? I know I'm not an OG.
You on the day one side.
I know I'm not part of the originals.
Yeah, I got to come up with another something.
Yeah, we need to
because I'm in the middle, right?
Yeah, 8 is a good.
With you, right?
8's a good number, right?
Yeah.
Like that's an awesome number. I appreciate it.
I mean, it's been 11 years, so you
you on the day one side.
There you go.
Yeah.
So and we want to thank L2 for hanging out, Mom.
Yes,
On
thank
Squad.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all for tuning in. This was great. Thank you.
And we're taking a break next week. We're taking a break next week, but we'll be back, and we will be talking about relationships and also relationships and how we raise our kids for the next generation of fathers. What are we doing? So we have.
We about to do some Mom Squad. We about to do some arranged Mom Squad family in up in here. Our generational wealth.
Exactly. Well, thanks everybody. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.
Take care.